Welcome back to another episode of the MacRumors Show, a very special episode. If you haven't seen the 100th, the true 100th episode, which is the one that was on last week where we talked about the Apple event for the iPads. Obviously, we're in person again. We filmed these all in the same time. This episode is going to be very laid back, very chill. We're getting into the chill zone. We asked you guys for a few weeks about questions over on social media, emails. We got a bunch of questions here. I'm going to go through them all, and yeah, that'll be it. It's our 100th episode special on episode 101. Okay, we'll start with an Apple specific. Okay. So we have two categories. We asked people to be fun, but also if you have any question, about Apple stuff that we don't usually talk about. So the first question, do you sleep with your Apple Watch?
I do.
Okay.
I didn't for many years, and I kind of want to stop. But I sort of, now I've got so much data, I don't really want to stop collecting it. All. Sometimes it is really interesting. It's only interesting because if I have a bad night's sleep, I can check the health app and think, yes, I did have a bad night's sleep. Mm-hmm. And also if I've been ill, I like the temperature monitoring because then I can think, okay, I did have a fever in the night.
Right.
But I could also just stop doing it and it would change nothing in my life at all. What about you?
I don't use my Apple Watch when I sleep, but I have a bed that tracks the same stuff. So to just play devil's advocate, if I did have my Apple Watch as my sleep tracking, capability, I probably would keep wearing it because I do like you said, if I'm not feeling great, what happened? Was my heart rate really high last night? Was I, just not getting good sleep and going back and getting that confirmation and not being oh, there's something wrong with me. It was just no, you just had a really bad night's sleep. My temperature went up a little bit, those types of things. Also, I have shout out to the, 8 Sleep, the pod. That thing is,
I want to get one of those.
That thing is nice. It vibrates to wake you up for an alarm. That's super helpful. But the cooling, living with you this week, you can't handle, you can always put more on, Hartley. You can't take more off. We can't keep the temperature at 75 degrees.
It's overcorrecting.
In this climate.
It's overcorrecting. Mm-hmm.
So I like that I can keep myself cool. And then my wife on the other side, she's a lot like you and likes to be warmer. So she beefs her up to the, so I wish your Apple Watch could do that. That'd be sweet. Yeah. Okay. We'll do a personal question. That was kind of personal, but also Apple specific. Yeah. But this one's from social media at PVDGUGHT. To me, that doesn't spell anything that I could pronounce. But when I do have names, if I mispronounce it, I'm really sorry. Someone said that voice. Are you using a voice enhancer? Hartley, we get this a lot.
We do.
Yeah.
We do get it a lot. I do look at the comments. And there's a lot of comments every week insisting that I'm putting it on.
Yeah. Go ahead and show me your real voice.
Yeah, well, I wish I could, but I can't.
Okay.
So this is it. This is my actual voice. What more can I say? You know I'm not faking it.
I know that. That would be really impressive if you could be this accurate at faking it.
Yeah.
Can you give everybody your American accent?
No, but you're very welcome to give them the impression of me.
No. We'll just move on. Okay, from social media user KRYCEKA. Again, not Kursic A, whatever. He had a few questions, or she, don't really know. Some questions here. Which third-party app do you use the most on the following devices? iPhone, iPad, or Apple Watch?
Well, for me, it's the same across all of them. Things 3.
Even on your watch?
Yeah, I love it. The watch app is actually great because you get a little activity ring that moves around throughout the day as you check your tasks off. Mm-hmm. It's just the best task manager there is. I love it. I've used it for years. That's an easy answer.
Mine's not as good. Mine's depressing.
What?
It's either TikTok or X. That just makes me really sad. Oh. Yeah. I guess from a productivity tool, what do I use the most? Notion, maybe? But not really. I don't know. I just kind of like to quickly need to look at stuff. The Notes app? I have no. It's not third party. I don't know. Spotify? Like that's really boring. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sorry, that's not a good answer. On the iPad, yeah, it's still the same. And on my Apple Watch, I don't use any apps ever, really.
Right.
Just the first party stuff. Okay. From @BlairSlaven. How important is it for your significant others to be geeky? Or if you have a significant other, are they currently geeky themselves?
For me, not remotely important.
Okay.
But
Does it help if they are?
no, but I will say, and this is going to make me sound terrible.
Yeah, let's just say it. You're already on the...
But it would count against them if they were an Android user.
Jesus. Really?
People
You're one of those... Yeah, that's well, not on this podcast.
Well, I like iMessage. I really like using iMessage. I like using Find My. I like the whole ecosystem.
What if they were the one, but they use... Like, what's the trend? They're a 10, but they use Android. Could you convince them to go to, like, Telegram or something? Would that be helpful? No.
If they can be persuaded to move to the Apple ecosystem, then that's fine. I would allow Spotify usage.
Would you though? You're in the car. You want to make a collaborative playlist.
That I can do, but I think iMessage and buying into generally the rest of the ecosystem is important for me. I need someone to share my Apple One with. You know, these things are important.
Oh boy.
But generally, I would not want my significant other to be particularly techie because I don't want to just be with someone like me. What's the point?
You know,
you want to be with someone different to you.
So there's two different ideologies for that I kind of believe in both, and so in which case, like, I don't understand, like, you know, which one I fall on or which one's true. But like, yeah, opposites attract is one of the ones that people say, but also like, there's been many studies where it's like people who have similar interests and do things together are like, so it's got to be like a healthy balance of both.
I think you've got to have similar values.
Yeah.
But different interests.
No, I think you got to have some interests that you can do together.
Some, like maybe like you like the same TV shows and stuff that like you can do together, but you still need to have separate lives. I find it a bit weird when people are
do everything together.
And ultra similar in interests, and
so
it's odd to me.
I once dated somebody that was basically the female version of me.
Oh no!
Not like by looks. That would be terrible. You know what? That person is going to exist somewhere. There's going to be a female version of me, and they're beautiful. I just want them to know that. But in personality, like, it was great. But like then after a while, I'm like, this is just like dating myself, and I don't know that I want to do that. I was also young, but my current wife was actually an Android user when I met her, and at that time in my life, I was like, it's iPhone or nothing. And then like weirdly, after I convinced her to switch to an iPhone, not because I was like, I'm never going to be with you, but because, you know, I just kept harping on like, this is so much better, like just jump over. And then she finally had to get a new phone, and she did. And now she's like, ew, Android, I don't want one of those. But like I then made a switch because I started reviewing tech at that time. And I was like, oh, I do like messing around with all these Android phones. She always calls me out on that. My wife is not techie at all. And so hopefully that answers your question. It's not very important to me. I would at some points like for her to be like, use a password manager so I can like not be worried that our like personal info is being hacked by her. But she's techie enough to be able to figure things out. But like, you know, she's not going out and buying the brand new iPad or anything like that. She doesn't care. Okay, so that was a personal. Let's go to @EllenNizetta. Since you started taking interest in Apple products, what was your biggest disappointment? And what was the product that surprised you the most after initial skepticism? That's a good question.
The product that's disappointed me the most is the AirPods Max.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think they're uncomfortable. I think they have the worst durability of any Apple product I've ever used. They sound great, but they just hurt my head after like 10 minutes, so I can't even really enjoy them. And they're stupid expensive. The headband on mine has just collapsed. The case is terrible. It's just a pretty bad product. But the sound quality is great. So, but overall, taking it as a whole, it's a bad product. What about you for most disappointing?
I don't know. This is tough. I was kind of hoping you'd answer the other part so I could still keep thinking.
What was the other part?
The product that surprised you the most after initial skepticism.
After initial skepticism?
I don't know that I've ever been skeptical of a product.
I wouldn't buy it if I was skeptical. So or I'm less likely to buy it, and I generally am sort of excited, enthusiastic to use stuff. So
I'll jump in and say Vision Pro because I'm not a VR person. I don't like wearing things on my face, and so I just kind of assumed it was going to be like everything else. And while my constant usage has definitely decreased, it's still incredible every time I put it on. I'm still blown away by like, oh, this is not like any other product. But I don't know about biggest disappointment. I don't know that there's ever been. I guess the Magic Mouse's location for charging is pretty disappointing, and like how uncomfortable it is. But I still use it, so it's not that disappointing.
Yeah, I still use my AirPods Max.
Yeah, I kind of share the same like with AirPods Max.
Yeah.
Because it could be so much better, and it's just not.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add to that one?
It's hard. It's a hard question.
Yeah, it was a good one though. All right, at Chili Chomp at Chili Chompa 34. Excellent username, by the way. Have you ever thought about the state of always-on display support for third-party apps? Is Apple being anti-competitive, as it seems like only Apple has access to this API?
For
always-on display, like I'm guessing, like being able to add like, I don't know what they really mean.
Well, maybe
by that.
like say with Maps, where the Maps app stays open when you're taking directions. I don't know if you can do that in third-party Maps apps. It's not actually something. So if the question is, have I thought about it?
Well, do they mean
the
like?
Honest answer
Well,
is,
I was wondering if they meant like this, like being able to display certain things from. But there's widgets.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah,
to be
me
honest.
neither. I mean, like, even on Android, you can't really do that. There's widgets the same way. More customizations, like being able to show things. I don't know.
I'm happy with always on in its current implementation.
I'd say it's same for me. I'm fine with it. Okay. Let's see. From Langley NA. What has been a favorite time in the history of development and user experience of macOS for you? Think of releases where the Finder has been, the dock had been Spotlight, and aesthetic or wallpaper marketing, and the whole culture of using the operating system of software. So, what's your favorite development and user experience of macOS?
For me, I think it's kind of superficial, but I always appreciate a redesign. I enjoyed Yosemite.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed Big Sur as well, because where macOS is so mature, it's unusual that we get those kind of visual changes. I mean, they're not always for the best when we think about things like system preferences, but it's refreshing, and I appreciate that a little bit more on the Mac than on other platforms, just because it's been around for such a long time. So I don't know if I can call out something specific.
I don't think I can either.
I always appreciate that kind of thing.
I just like when it's like everything is still the same as it ever was.
Right.
But just some things visually change. I like that it doesn't go to a radical, like think about Windows and like just the menu bar down at the bottom and compare it to the Mac's menu bar. Like, yeah, it's gone through some changes, but nothing's really dramatically changed like how Windows was. Like the whole going to the Windows icon and like clicking that and then it brings up like that doesn't exist. Like you don't get that type of difference with Mac. It's always been the same functionality, and I just like that consistency. Yeah. But then it just changes up the design just a little bit. Let's do one more Apple question. Let's see. Okay, do you use a specific family Apple ID to let your family go wild with devices like HomePods, Apple TVs, and iPads, or is it all your wife's Apple ID? This was directed specifically to me, but also with you, if you want to jump in on how your family uses.
Well, I've always used family sharing.
Yeah.
I think it works brilliantly. I've never had any problems with it. And even like I was saying with Apple One, I love that I can just have one subscription, use it for everyone in the family. It's perfect.
This question, by the way, was from Soren Anderberg. So thank you for sending that out. For me specifically, it was always, like my kids are still pretty young to where they don't have an iPhone. I gave my son an iPad. My other daughter has like an Amazon Fire, but there are iPads set out for them. And so 2 of the iPads use my account. I did finally, just over the last year, gave my son, I made him like an Apple ID, an iCloud email address, so that I can give him his own profile basically. But I don't know that I love that because it just managing stuff is kind of hard. There's a lot, like, I made it so restrictive that, like, literally he has, in order for me to do anything on there, I have to go in. And it's great for that, but, like, it's kind of annoying on an iPad. So, I guess to answer the question, it's both. Like, it's my wife's ID or my ID for some of it, and then as they get older, I'll transition them and give them family sharing and stuff. I do use family sharing for me and my wife as well. So, and then he had another question, and that is, they would like to hear about our thoughts on the supposed short life of AirPods. Some argue that it can be as low as 18 months. So basically, what he means is like they die to where they can't hold a decent charge anymore.
It's the battery.
Yeah.
I mean, I even have problems with my AirPods now, and one earbud is always losing charge way faster. I've had them for about a year and a half, maybe.
I've never had that problem.
I've never had to replace AirPods. I've usually managed to eke them out just long enough until a new version has come out, but they definitely have very poor longevity. But they're these tiny little batteries that you're using constantly. At least for me, I'm wearing AirPods almost all day, every day. So it's understandable that there's a lot of wear and tear for that. I think it doesn't bother me that they have a short life. What bothers me is what happens to them when that life comes to an end, because they're not repairable, they're not recyclable. And I think that for a company that talks so much about its environmental credentials, nothing is said about just the immense amount of waste that AirPods create. So where I would like to see Apple actually work on their environmental credentials is not with something like getting rid of leather or telling me what they're doing in their supply chain. It's they're producing millions of tons of AirPods waste every year that's not recyclable because everything's sealed shut. Put some screws on there, make it recyclable, make it easy to disassemble and repair. Let me put a new battery in there easily. Take it into an Apple store, get the batteries replaced. It's one of those particular sort of environmental issues with Apple that I do feel quite strongly about, because they talk so much about it, but just not that one area where it's a little bit inconvenient.
Yeah. I've never run into the issue where my AirPods, because by that point I've usually moved on to another pair.
Right.
So like, but I still have other ones that I've like given to family members, and they're still moving strong. So, but I do know that so many people have these issues. So, all right, let's rattle off a couple of non-Apple questions. We'll do a few of them. How do you think an English muffin compares to a crumpet? This one may or may not be from someone close to you.
Well, I think we should provide some context.
A little bit of backstory. Would you like to give that?
So, when we're staying here this week, we were choosing some breakfast items, and I said that I wanted crumpets, because I often quite enjoy a breakfast crumpet. And Dan insists that this is the same thing.
I don't insist. I didn't know exactly. I've heard of them before, but I couldn't tell you exactly what it was. So I asked Siri, what is the equivalent to a crumpet for America? Oh, she's not going to read it out loud. I'll show the camera. It says English muffins. It says English muffins.
But as we know, even from this week, we can't even rely on Siri to just give us basic turn-by-turn directions.
That's not fair. Siri is perfect and never had a problem ever. And in this case, it's very right.
And it is not directing you to.
So how is it different?
Because crumpets, I think they don't have any yeast. So they have like a texture of like a pancake.
What is it made out of?
Well, it's the same. It's the same stuff that bread is made out of, but it's like a pancake.
Okay.
It's got the texture like a rubbery texture as opposed to a bready texture.
Okay.
But they are not the same.
Do they have any flavor?
Well, like, does bread have any flavor? You add stuff to it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, some breads have different flavors.
Yeah, but
okay. All right. What do you eat it with?
A little bit of butter and some Marmite.
Marmite. That's the other thing. Can you describe what Marmite is for those who listen and have no idea?
It's yeast extract, and it tastes extreme. It's a byproduct of making beer.
Okay.
So it tastes extremely salty, extremely savory, and anyone from the UK will tell you that they either love it
or hate it,
or they absolutely cannot stand it. But I love it.
I'll have to try it sometime. What is your favorite album or artist?
That's hard.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't do album, so artist.
I couldn't do album.
No.
But I think that for artists, I'm going to be really basic, and I'm also going to live up to the stereotype.
Oh boy.
And I'm going to say the Beatles.
Oh boy. I mean, the Beatles are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm picking a best all-time artist, I think you can't really go wrong with the Beatles. But I could have given a different answer there, but I won't.
I am not going to say I have a favorite artist.
Right.
I have a lot of artists that I really like equally. So instead, I'll just rattle off a couple of bands that I'm listening to a lot.
Okay.
And it's all... I'm still trapped as an emo kid at heart. So Mom Jeans, Hot Mulligan, Microwave, the Menzingers, Bayside. Yep, those are all of them. Capstan. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows these. Let me know.
I've never heard of
Yeah,
these.
of course you haven't. I just assumed that was the case. You're going to have to listen to some.
Well, you'll
It's
have to...
very much like the Beatles. They're almost all heavily influenced by...
Right.
I'm just kidding. Name one other artist that you have been recently digging, that you've been listening to.
I mean, I just listen to... I'm like this with movies, I'm like it with books. The same with music. I just listen to the same stuff over and over again.
Do you listen to music while you work? That's another question, by the way.
Yes, all day.
Okay.
So where I work from home, I mean, we all work from home effectively, apart from you in your studio, but still effectively like working remotely.
I work alone.
For me, I'm always having music playing in the background. I've got, as we've discussed before, about 10,000 songs in my library, have it on shuffle all day. I'm really happy with that. I like music from all sorts of genres, so every day's completely different.
I don't listen to music well. I do, but very specific times. Because most of the time I'm either editing or filming, and I can't have music playing.
Yeah.
So definitely my commute to and from. But if I'm writing a script, and even then, because I need to like focus, because I can't, it's hard for me to write, and like, because then I start thinking of the words that are happening in the song.
Yeah, sometimes I have to admit, like I've been typing a MacRumors article,
type
and I've started typing the lyrics.
Yeah.
So it happens.
But like, yeah, it's usually just during script writing that I'll listen to music. But what does MR look like, MacRumors, aka if you don't know, what does MR look like behind the scenes / day to day? And what app do you use to communicate?
So we use Slack,
Yep.
which I think we all quite enjoy. It works well for us.
What else would we go to?
Yeah,
I'm not going to Microsoft Teams. No way.
Yes, definitely not.
Sorry to people who really enjoy Microsoft Teams.
But what does it look like behind the scenes? What do you think it looks like behind the scenes?
I don't know. It's just me.
Yeah,
I don't really...
That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah,
I think...
We all communicate with each other, but it's only for very specific things.
Yeah, but we have a very small team.
Yeah.
We work very independently, but I think we work really well together. Yeah. Everyone gets on great. And it's a weird thing to say, but it doesn't feel like work because there's so much sort of autonomy over what I'm... When I write a MacRumors article, 99% of the time it's because I want to write it because I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
And I assume to some extent, other than the things you have to do, like reviews and when a new product comes out, it must be kind of the same for you that you pursue those things that you have more of a genuine interest in, like when you're picking up an Android device or something. That's because you want to do that.
Yes.
That's great. And when you're bouncing off other people that are doing that, it's just a great atmosphere. Very competitive, but also just, I get on really well with everyone.
It's good. It's a good answer. From Brantley Pop. Wanted to know something that's been an ongoing issue with the Apple Watch, but never truly addressed, is how the Apple Watch doesn't work on tattooed skin. Been asking this since Gen 1 and never gotten any true answers. Biggest issue is when you turn off wrist detection, it disables a bunch of other features, including heart rate monitoring. Given the amount of growing population with tattoos, I'm shocked Apple has yet to ever even mention this. And it's been an issue since Gen 1. That's a long time, nearly 10 years ago.
I remember reading about this at the time, but it has kind of slipped off the radar. I mean, I don't have any tattoos.
Yeah.
But you do.
But not visible.
No. But, so what do you think about it? Maybe you would know a little more than me. I know nothing about tattoos.
I know nothing about. I have one that I did when I was in college. Okay, like not like a tatted monster, but like, I'm not. It's not like I have a bunch of tattoos everywhere. So I don't know. I honestly never thought of this ever because I'm like you. Even though I do have one, it's not in an area where it affects it. But I'm sorry Brantley, that you have to go through this, because that probably sucks.
Yeah.
And I've thought about, I'm probably past this point, but like, I thought sleeves are cool, and you'd stop it up at your wrist, so you do your whole arm. Yeah, that would be kind of annoying if you can't really wear an Apple Watch properly. Like, what does it not do? I guess you still get notifications and all of that stuff, but like
you
heart rate monitoring,
some of those health features.
Yeah.
I wonder how it plays with things like blood oxygen and some of these other features.
Like wrist detection. Can it detect that it's on your wrist for things like unlocking your?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm really sorry that is something you have to go through, but I'm guessing if Apple hasn't figured out a way to fix that, it's because it's probably not possible right now. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Next one comes from Joseph Siradane. Again, I'm sorry if I'm just butchering names, but there's a few questions from Joseph. With still a demand for an iPhone Mini Pro model, equipped with all features like ProMotion and a powerful chipset, do you think Apple's hesitation in producing such a device might be due to the need for a larger battery to support the intensive I mean, that's a good question, because
it's definitely possible. I mean, the battery life of the
Mini was bad.
Particularly the first one, the 12 Mini, it was really poor. But personally, if I can fit on the back a next-gen MagSafe battery,
that's super fast. Maybe.
Yeah, I would put up with a 6-hour battery life to have that small device.
I feel like the people that want a Mini also probably want to not use their phone as much either.
Yes.
So you just but when you are using your phone, you want the Pro features.
And also, every year Apple Silicon is getting more and more efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw a huge jump in battery life between the 12 Mini and 13 Mini, and that was just going from, I believe, the A12 to it was the A14 to the A15. And that was a significant battery life improvement, and I don't think the battery was really much physically bigger. So if there was a hypothetical iPhone 17 Mini, by the time we're building in those iterations on Apple Silicon, surely it would be possible to make that happen.
Now that we're finally seeing OLED technology on the iPad Pro, do you think there's a possibility the next product with a larger screen, such as the iMac Pro, do you think we'd get one in that larger range of an OLED display? Because, the Macs are the next one up, and that's laptops. So you think we'd see like 27, 32-inch OLEDs?
Think eventually, inevitably we will, but maybe not for 8 years or something. We're not expecting to get OLED displays on MacBooks until, I think, late next year at the earliest.
Yeah.
And then it's going to take a while to trickle down across the lineup. And obviously desktop, I mean, in these iPads, there's had to be a price increase. And these are relatively small OLED displays. So if you imagine those tandem OLED displays on something like a 32-inch Pro Display XDR.
Well, they don't have to do tandem OLEDs for something
but
that large.
They probably would want to use that technology by the time
sure.
We're at that point. So when it's a price issue, I think is what it comes down to. Apple can do it, but do they really want to say to someone, well, here's your iMac Pro and it costs $7,000 with an OLED display?
What about this last one here from Joseph? On a more personal note, have either one of us ever been to Bangkok, Thailand? And if not, would you ever consider going in the future?
Well, if you go with me, Dan, I'll go.
Sure.
That'll
be fun.
We'll have a little road trip across.
Road trip?
You can drive.
To Bangkok, Thailand?
In Bangkok, you can drive.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, buddy, I don't think we could drive there.
No.
From definitely not the current location.
No.
You're closer, so I just said you could go first if I can't go with you.
I don't think so somehow. But I like to travel, so
you're not closer?
I'm closer, but I couldn't drive.
Oh no, I meant like just you're the one who gets to go first if we can't make it together.
No, I think I'll only go if you go.
All right. Well, policy. Joseph, we would love to come to Bangkok, and maybe Arn can fund a trip for us.
That's the MacRumors retreat next year.
Oh yeah, maybe we'll all come. That'd be cool. Let's see. Michael Dennis, congratulations on the milestone episode. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate you. My question is about technology itself as a human enterprise. As someone who thinks about it every day, what it's all about. Apple markets its products as connecting people and enabling creativity. For example, we can't wait to see what people will do with it. Do you agree? Is it about progress for its own sake, solving problems, creating inclusiveness? like accessibility features, or is it something else?
I think that there's two elements to this, which is obviously superficially, Apple is a company that does exist to make money and serve its shareholders.
Sure.
And to make a profit and make devices that will be successful, because we see how it changes direction, like with how it killed the touch bar in response to consumer demand, and those machines have been very successful. So that is the driving force, but that doesn't mean that it isn't true that those devices bring people together and provide people with the tools to be very creative and create things. I mean, look at what we do. We're using these devices every day. We're producing content that's consumed by millions of people ultimately, and that is facilitated by these devices. And even in terms of bringing people together, we've been brought together. It's everyone that we're here with at MacRumors.
I guess this podcast would not exist. This site would not exist without Apple. So, I mean,
but even just technology more widely. When I think about how my life has changed, my life would be unrecognizable without technology. I've made so many good friends over the internet. It's a really significant thing, and maybe it isn't in everyone's life, but in mine it has been. So I do think it's true. So even though it's profit driven, which is fine, I do think it is true what Apple has to say about. They sort of present it as their mission, what they have to say, but I think it is less of a mission and more of a consequence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you said, corporations do have a bottom line, so they need to get, their profits in. But I do genuinely believe that they feel like a lot of these things that are coming out, that they're creating and innovating on, are supposed to help everyone. There are some things that are a little overkill that we probably don't need, and they're just not good for us. But for the most part, like you said, I mean, we need technology for a lot of these things to do our jobs. And I would imagine that, technology has saved quite a few lives over the last few years, and that's going to hopefully even improve in the future. So yeah, I mean, yay technology. Okay, here is one. What sort of things, this is from Langley NA again, he had two. Or she. Again, I don't know why I keep assuming a lot of our viewers are men, so just kind of assume. All right, from Langley NA, what sort of things in the electronics/computing industry exhaust you? It's a product, it's a business, it's a concept or idea of software or hardware, but it's more than disinterest. You really get deflated hearing and knowing about something. That's
difficult. I mean, I'm always very curious about technology.
Yeah, me too.
I think we've seen, even recently with things like the Rabbit R1 and the AI pin, although people like to hate on them, we love it. We're into it. We like trying new things. And even with the iPads, we only complain about them because we love them.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know if I am sincerely exhausted by anything, but I think with anything that you can complain about profusely, it is really just out of a place of love. It's the same with like a TV show. I will talk more about TV shows that I'm critical of than the ones that are just like, okay. And it's because I care about it, and it's because I'm passionate.
I'm just more exhausted about like the ramp ups to things.
Yes.
Like constantly talking about the same thing. And I guess I'm in the wrong game because it's really just all of our rumors. But it's just like the speculation and then just like constantly speculating and doing the same thing. Like what we did with the iPad for the last, But I think that right now my current like thing that I just want to like get going on is AI stuff. So like any AI rumors for Apple, I'm like, let's just get this going. I'm tired of hearing about AI. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, nothing really exhausts me to where I'm like, oh, I don't have any interest in that.
Yeah,
especially when it comes to technology.
I mean, I suppose only insofar as for me, things that are not necessarily Apple related, like if there's a new version of Windows, I wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
It's just, it goes over my head. But that's not disappointment, it's just disinterest.
Yeah. What's your favorite cereal?
This week, Dan has been introducing me to...
By the way, it's not just me. There are other people here.
Yes, but you've been the most passionate cereal advocate this week.
No, I don't even eat cereal that much.
Well,
I was just thinking of my childhood, and if someone who's never tried these things.
Well, when I was in the supermarket, and I was looking at the endless sugary American cereal aisle.
We're really good at those.
And I didn't know what to buy. There was only one person I called.
Oh, God.
And that was you.
And you didn't listen to any of my recommendations.
I did. You said...
You got Cocoa Puffs.
Yes.
I don't even love Cocoa Puffs that much, but that was something that when I was a kid...
They were very underwhelming.
Really? I still think they're good.
Today,
I haven't had one forever.
Today I tried corn pops.
Yeah, that was Mitchell's favorite. I don't like corn pops.
I quite enjoyed them.
Of course you did. I feel like I don't... Those are bland.
But the corn puffs... they're not the corn puffs.
Pops.
The Cocoa Puffs.
Oh, Cocoa Puffs are... Wait, that's what we had.
Whatever the first one I tried was.
Okay. Oh, okay, you're going back to that.
Right.
Okay.
They just tasted like sugary cardboard and were very underwhelming. So I think that was a poor recommendation on your behalf.
Oh, wow.
But...
Well, my first recommendation was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I said it like 8 times.
Yeah.
And you didn't get that.
I'm not a big cinnamon person.
It's good, though.
I mean, they are all just pure sugar. They
Yeah.
all just taste like the same thing to me, which is just... I feel like my mouth is just dissolving in sugar.
Which is really funny because I don't eat sugary cereal. I mean, let me rephrase that. I don't eat cereals like that. If I eat cereal, it's like Honey Nut Cheerios or regular Cheerios, which is pretty bland. Or like, I like the oats and granola style cereal. Yeah. So like, I didn't recommend those ones because those are boring in the sense of like, I wanted you to eat the truly American, over-processed, over-sugared. Yeah. We should have said Lucky Charms. That's an interesting one. It's just really sweet marshmallows with like grain cereal.
Even more sugar.
Yeah.
As if that wasn't possible.
No, it's very possible.
Yeah.
Golden Grams are good. Rice Krispies are good. Like they have Cocoa Rice, or what are those called? Is it Cocoa Rice Krispies?
Cocoa Pops.
Cocoa Krispies. I think we just get rid of the rice.
Okay.
It's not puffs. They're like the crisps, the little like rice-looking things.
We call that Cocoa Pops.
Cocoa Pops?
Yeah.
Man, everything's so weird over there. We need to do an episode where I come out.
Yes.
Like Hartley tries U.S. food, Dan tries UK food.
I've been trying lots this week.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing that you've tried that you've never... this is my question.
Okay. I did very much enjoy this Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah? It's just steak and meat and cheese. Or the meat. Steak, peppers, and cheese.
I could feel my arteries complaining.
And onions. That's a lot of cheese. Where'd you get the Philly cheesesteak at?
When we went to that was it like a sports bar?
Oh, you got that when we first came in?
Yeah.
It was an ale house.
I mean, I will say...
Shout out Miller's Ale House.
I will say that because one of our dear colleagues drove us around for like 3 hours because we couldn't find anywhere decent to eat. I was extremely hungry by that point, and that may have influenced my decision.
Didn't matter?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other favorite foods that you've really enjoyed?
I mean, I'm enjoying all the food I'm having here, but I'm very aware that I feel like it's already taking a toll on my body.
Do you eat a lot of Mexican food? That's what we're getting after this.
Not really, no.
Oh, okay, so this will be an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Okay, what does your desk setup look like?
So I've recently redone my desk.
Okay.
So I've just got a really nice Herman Miller Aeron chair, which I'm loving.
Yes.
I've got a nice standing desk that matches the Herman Miller with chrome. I've got a nice walnut top. And of course, I've got my key lights that I use for the podcast. And I use a studio display, and I have a Keychron keyboard, although I'd actually quite like to replace that with a Touch ID Magic keyboard.
That's what I use.
And then I plug into that my 14-inch MacBook Pro. I also have a Mac Mini that I sometimes use. I need to move over entirely from one to the other. And that's pretty much it. It's quite a simple setup. What about you?
You can see my setup on youtube.com/MacRumors. Yeah, I mean, I do recommend watching that video if you like desk setups, because I went through everything. But I have same thing, Herman Miller chair, sit-stand desk. I have two, right now I'm doing the 2 studio displays instead of the 1 Pro Display XDR, and I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of multi-monitor setups, but I know that's
unpopular. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I kind of just like one big thing as opposed to...
It's because I don't like turning my head.
Yeah.
It kind of... I know that anything I put in my peripheral vision, I just know I'm not really going to look at.
Yeah.
So I need it all in one place.
Can I just say, one of my biggest things that I don't understand why, and you can do this with software, but it's not good. Why, if you have 2 studio displays, why can't I have left and right stereo pair with the speakers? That would be so good. And you can, again, you can achieve this. I found some software it worked, but it wasn't great. But like, why do I have to just choose one?
That is disappointing.
That was weird, right? Like, it seems great. Like, those speakers are good for most scenarios.
I mean, I also think if you connect something like a MacBook Pro, you should be able to play out of both the Studio Display and the MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
So,
but that's what I have. I also use the Magic Keyboard. I also use the Magic Mouse. I couldn't tell you why. I don't know. I like it, and I don't like it at the same time. And I have a Mac Studio for my main thing. There are many times where I kind of wish I was like a full laptop user and just plugged in. Because I go to a studio and then I bounce around, so it would be nice to take it home with me.
Could you not do that?
No, not with my Mac Studio.
No, but could you not just move all the way over to like a 16-inch?
My Mac Studio is really nice. It's really nice.
But would you really notice any performance difference if you loaded up like a
maybe
M3 Max and a 16-inch MacBook Pro?
I mean, probably not, but then I feel like the moment something goes wrong, I'll be like, here it is. Like, should have had. I just like knowing I have the capabilities. Okay. But you're right, I could just go to the M3 Max. If you can spend an afternoon with one notable person, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, no.
Now, this is tough. This is like the music question. I don't like these types of questions.
What am I doing with that person? Like, I can't remember what the question was.
What do you want to do with that person?
Like, how was it phrased?
If you can spend the afternoon with them, like hang out.
Well, I would choose
talk to them.
I'd choose my colleague Dan.
No, stop. Pick a real person, like George Harrison. You like George Harrison?
I do like George Harrison.
Okay, well he's dead. So if you wanted to like hang out with him and talk to him, you'd pick me over George freaking Harrison? No, you wouldn't.
Maybe. It's hard to answer that question. Like I don't have.
Don't butter me up. It's not working.
Well, what about you?
I don't know. Well, you know what? No, I like if I had to pick, like I like Paul Rudd. He's a cool actor. I think we'd have fun hanging out, doing whatever. Like someone like along those lines.
Okay.
You know, or a band, one of those 7 bands that I listed. Like that'd be cool. Yeah, I don't really know. That's pretty much most of the questions. Do you have a question for me? Is there one thing you would ask me?
Oh, it's really hard. I mean, why don't you tell people about how you got started at MacRumors?
Okay. About 10 years ago, I think, 2014, I was working for a record label, which was a cool job, but like I started like messing around with a lot of like Android phones and stuff. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and then I saw people doing this, and I'm like, I could do this. Like, I could review products on YouTube, and so I started buying. Much to my credit card chagrin, I started buying a bunch of products and just also reviewing whatever I had around me. So I started my own YouTube channel. For those that are listening, if you want to go follow it, I don't post a whole lot there, but every once in a while there'll be something.
It's nice seeing the old videos.
It's just my name, Dan Barbera. Just started a channel. It's okay. I grew it to like 20,000, 30,000 subscribers, and then so I started going to events like. Got invited to like a couple Samsung and LG events, and CES, I believe, is where I met Matt, who was the original person who did, he was the YouTube content creator for MacRumors for a few years before I came on, and we became friends, just kind of chatted, and then one day, you were not here yet, but one day, MacRumors tweeted out like, hey, we're looking for a video person.
Oh, so it was from a tweet?
I think it was a tweet.
It was the same for me.
Yeah, I saw a tweet like that they were looking for somebody, and I had a pretty decent job. I was not at the record label, but I had a very good job at the time. But it wasn't making YouTube videos full time, and so I just kind of applied just to see if I could get it, kind of thinking I couldn't, and was just like, well, if I get it, then that's a situation that I'll figure out because I liked my job that I had before, and then I interviewed, and that was it.
And now you're here.
And now I'm here. What was funny is I asked who, they wouldn't really tell me, I asked Arnon, like, so where did I stack up against the others? Just kind of curious. And I was like, what made you choose me? And I think it was Eric who specifically said you were the most like the person we had before. We just wanted no differences. They really liked Matt, and they just were like, he's leaving.
It's as good a reason as any.
You were just like the other person. So for those of you who are going out there and applying for a job, find out who held that job before that, and if they liked him, and then just carbon copy that person's personality. And so same for you then? You got started like that? Tweet?
Yeah, so...
Started writing. Did you write articles in your spare time for anything else?
No, so I read MacRumors for years, since literally I was about 12 years old.
Yeah.
I was really into Apple as a teenager. And then when I was at university, I held a few part-time jobs. I was actually a video editor for a nightclub, part-time. So that was kind of what I was interested in at the time, short film making. But I studied history, so I was doing loads of writing. And that's always been the thing that I've been quite good at, I guess. And then I saw a tweet. It was just at the time when I started to use Twitter a little bit more, looking for some writers to help out at weekends. And went through that process. And then I worked for us just at weekends, helping out with weekend coverage with Frank, who we've had on the podcast, who's now
a TikTok star.
Who is now a big TikTok star.
Yeah.
But I stayed here. TikTok was not my not for me.
You're a star in our hearts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then a week after I graduated, I was thinking, what do I do with my life now? I've actually got to think about, because I didn't know, I'd studied history. There's not necessarily a clear path of what you do with that. And I was really trying to think, what do I do now? And then I was asked, do you want to go full time? And that was it. So cool. I didn't even have to really think about it, which I'm really lucky, and it's worked out. Yeah, it's worked out really well.
Yeah. Moral of the story: if you see a tweet from a job that you want, just try it.
Twitter's a great place for jobs, or it was. I mean, I don't know what it's like now for that, but
I don't know. I don't half the things that are on there anymore. I don't know if I can trust.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I also I read MacRumors, but like, it was really when MacRumors was the thing that I went to when I was like jonesing for something new with Apple. Like I wasn't a religious reader for any real like new, like it would just be like whatever I'd see in social media or whatever people sent me with tech. That was kind of where it really transitioned to YouTube. Like I watched Matt's videos all the time. And like, so that was my way of like, of course it just makes sense. Like I stuck with it the whole way.
Yeah.
But in high school, our like interactive media instructor, like basically the reason why I started doing any kind of like tech, video, audio related engineering at all. He was a big MacRumors fan and read, and like we would go over articles from 2007 when the iPhone came out. We would read the MacRumors articles. We'd basically check it every morning. It was like, that's weird.
Well, that was part of my routine for years. First thing in the morning, reach over for my phone and update with MacRumors.
Basically, I did the same thing, and then when YouTube started blowing up and we did a channel, I would much rather just like watch the videos and see the products in people's hands and get their reviews that way. And then that's what made me think, I can do this. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm doing it, so we'll see. We'll see how that's going. Let me tell you, do I have a question for you personally?
Oh no.
Okay. Last thing, and we'll end it.
Okay.
What's your favorite thing about doing the podcast?
My favorite thing about doing the podcast?
We've done 100 episodes.
That's actually quite an easy answer for me. So I really like, I like a lot of things about it actually.
Okay.
So it's hard to say the favorite thing, but here's a few things. I like having something every week that's completely different to what I normally do. So I'm not looking for news. I'm not writing anything up other than like some little notes maybe, but I'm not thinking about a title and structuring something and hunting around for something to write. It's a completely different part of my week, and it's how I know that we usually record on a Thursday. I know it's Thursday, it's podcast day. But the main thing I like is just that even though we're remote, I like a face-to-face element. And it's been fantastic to have all of these guests that we've had and connect with people in the tech community that I would never otherwise have connected with. And also, I've actually made some great friends through doing the podcast, some people from the audience that have reached out to me, and we get on really well. So the podcast, it's genuinely actually really changed my life with the people that I've interacted with through doing it, which has been really great. I loved working at MacRumors before, but it's the podcast actually that has made it kind of a perfect job for me. So I can't give a better answer than that, honestly.
No, seriously, couldn't say it better myself. I guess it's not different from what I normally do. I sit in front of a camera and talk.
Okay, yeah.
But at least I get to talk to you and someone else instead of just myself. But honestly, it's just like we couldn't do this without everyone that listens. So not to get cheesy and emotional, but like we are celebrating our 100th episode. I would we started the podcast just like, well, let's just do this. Like, we didn't think we'd, 100 episodes is hard. Weekly, it's over 2 years, So thank you. That's all we're trying to say. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we can keep growing and keep making more, and that you guys still want to keep listening week after week. And that's it. Of course, you can always ask us questions anytime. Twitter/X, Dan at MacRumors, Hartley at MacRumors. You can email us at those email addresses. And then, of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave us comments. And we try to go and answer everything we can. At the very least, we are seeing them, and I do see them, and maybe I don't respond directly to you, but in the next week's episode, I've done this many times where I've been like, oh, hey, I saw somebody calling me out for being a clown and saying that I don't like looking off to the side, and then, okay, valid, but, now we got the landscape camera, so I'm happy. So I do address things. We do see them, and again, thank you so much. And we'll catch everybody in the 102nd episode, because this is technically the 101st.